Hello, welcome to the Forge Your Trail podcast. Today our guest is Grover Walker. Grover, tell us a little bit more about yourself, who you work for, how long you've been there, that sort of thing.
Okay. Like you said, my name is Grover Walker. I've been with, altogether, I've been with CPM probably 14 years now. I currently now work for the live contract as a supervisor.
Okay.
And I've been there it'll be 2 years this October.
Right.
So, and if you're not familiar with what live is, it's, we handle the inbound calls and some outbound calls for SNAP benefits, medical, TANF, and long-term care.
And so the total number of years together?
14.
14.
So, I started my career off at CARE 20 years ago, actually. It'll be 20 years in August. So I worked at CARE for a few years. Then I worked at ESC for a few years. Then after ESC, I left, went to the private sector. I worked for the Oklahoma State Regents, and then I came back to CPM in 2018. So I've been here ever since. So
That's pretty
altogether
cool.
about 14 years.
I didn't know that you also worked at the State Regents office.
Yeah. So,
That's great.
yeah.
Well, Grover, today, excuse me, we want to talk to you about what it's like to be a parent.
Uh-huh.
But you're a very special kind of parent because you have older children, and then you have a gap, and you have a gap baby, right?
Yes.
So we want to talk about what it's like to have that gap, to be the parent on both sides of that gap.
Yeah.
So I guess the first question I might ask you is, was that youngest child a surprise, a miracle, or just like a really long-term parenting plan?
Definitely a surprise. I can tell you that for a fact. It was funny because at the time, we didn't know my wife was pregnant. At the time, we didn't know until 3 months in that she was pregnant. So it was a surprise because we had went out of town and we went to her parents' house in Texas. It was over Thanksgiving break, and we were on our way back from Thanksgiving break, and she just got real sick on the way back. And I'm like, why? We just thought she just ate a lot of food. It's Thanksgiving, we're coming back. She just ate something bad or whatever. So she was just real sick. And so we didn't think nothing of it. And then over the weekend, she was just still wheezy and stuff. So I come home from work on Monday, and she has a pregnancy test, just the regular one. She's like, I was like, no, you're not. You're joking, right? So I didn't believe her. I'm like, you playing a joke on me. This is not, this is not it, right? So then she's like, all right. So then she goes to the doctor, and then she comes back from the doctor, and yeah, surely enough, she was, I think, about 3 months pregnant. So I was like, oh, okay, here we go. So, and at the time, my oldest daughter was 15.
Oh, man.
And then my oldest son was 12. So, yeah, we didn't really plan on having another child because we had this, we had this big gap, and it was like, and that's a big gap. We're talking, 15 years from my oldest, and then 12. That's like a whole generation, right? It's a different type of era now.
Right.
So, yeah, it was definitely a surprise when it happened. So, yeah, we got to do it all over again. So he's 6 now. He was born in 2019. And yeah, it seems like, but I know it goes by fast, though. I can remember when, I told my wife, I was like, oh, we got to do it all over again, But it keeps us young. It keeps us going. He's definitely different.
In what way?
It seemed like my older kids when they were his age, they were a little bit more, I guess the word calm. He's all, when I say he's literally bouncing off the walls, he's literally bouncing off the walls. Like, he's just go. He's all boy. He's constantly, we have to keep up with him. So I told my wife, I'm like, man, God bless us with another child, but it's like, why he couldn't give us a calm one? Because we're older in age now. Because like when we had the older ones, we were younger. We had more energy.
You had the energy, right?
We were in our 20s. We're in our 40s now.
Right.
So it's like, 20 years is a big difference. So I was like, man, I was like, why couldn't we get the calmer kids when we get older? Now we got this. So yeah, it's been a test, definitely. Yeah.
So how does your parenting style evolve over that time? Do you go from like baby monitor at the first one, or you want to be there and see everything, record everything, and then when the last one comes along, are you just like, meh?
Well, my wife was still, because it was like we were starting over, and we could remember some things, but we couldn't, because it was so much a big gap,
that's
right?
Interesting. Yeah.
Because if they were back to back, we kind of know what to expect. But we're talking 12 years since we had another child, so we kind of forgot some things, and it was like, man, I don't remember this. You know what I mean?
Do you have a good example?
Well, yeah, a lot of it was the diapers and stuff we went through. It was I don't remember going to the floor. You know what I mean? Every time you turn around, I had to buy a box of diapers. But
I know that.
But it was, but even like you said with the baby monitor and stuff, it was kind of that same. It was just like everything was new again. We had to start over. We had to remember. But I think now though, going through with the older kids, it's like we do have more wisdom, right, on things to expect and what not to expect, and we learn from that some parenting skills and parenting style with the older ones that we could use with the younger child. But we also have to remember that sometimes we try to compare him to, well, he didn't do this, and the older ones didn't do this. Why is he doing it? Sometimes we find ourselves trying to compare him to them. Like, why is it? We got to understand he's a totally different kid, right? They're not going to be the same.
Right.
He's a totally different generation. It's a lot different now. So those are some of the things that we have to remember with raising him, is that it's going to be different. It's not going to be the same.
I can imagine.
And we learned that real quick. So.
So I was number 5 out of 6 in our family. And, at the beginning, my parents were all in. And I think by the time I got around, they were just like, he'll be all right.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my wife, he's definitely a mama's boy now. He has babied a little bit, but he's not as spoiled. I think we did spoil our older ones a little bit.
That's interesting.
And
was that something you learned and just determined not to do, or?
Well, I think we found some of the repercussions of them being spoiled.
Right.
As they got teenagers. And I told my wife, I found myself, okay, we're not doing this again. We're not going to spoil them. We're going to make him, there's just different things and aspects of life that I think any parent can attest to, is a different parenting style of raising their kids and letting them get away with certain things, or spoiling them and giving them things, not working for certain things. So we our older ones, I would say, spoiled them to more than probably what we should have.
Yeah.
And when they got older, it kind of backfired on us, because they kind of expected a lot of stuff to be handed to them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's a lot harder to tell a 16, 17-year-old to change their ways and to do this and do that. Oh, no, you got to get a job, you work for that, if you didn't start it when they were younger, right?
Right.
So that's why I want to kind of break from that with the younger one, to kind of instill in him a better work ethic, things, so when he does get older, he doesn't expect everything to be handed to him. Right?
So in a way, having that younger one, it was like an opportunity to sort of do some different things and get a different outcome.
Exactly. Because even the work ethic that I had, when I was a kid, my parents instilled it into me real quick. They was like, if you want anything, you got to work for it. So if I wanted, and it was not always crazy, but it was like, okay, if you want that mountain bike, right, you need to come up with at least half the money. If you come up with half the money, we'll match it. So I had to work or do whatever to make the other half. Because I remember I think I was 10 or 11. I wanted this mountain bike, and it was $100. and this is like in 1991.
Wow.
1991. So $100. That's a lot back then,
Probably
right?
about $8,000 now.
Yeah, right. So $100 back then was a lot of money, and it was like, you know, the mountain bike, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like $100. I think it was at Kmart. I don't know if you remember what Kmart was.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was before Walmart came out. It was Kmart, and they had the mountain bike there. And it was like $99.99, right? So my mom was like, "You got to come up with the money." So I worked that whole summer. For the whole summer, I made $50. That's crazy. And I made exactly $50. And sure enough, we went and got the mountain bike. So that's just an example of what I kind of want to instill in the younger one now that he's coming up is, okay, you know, everything's not going to be handed to you, a different work ethic. You know, it's hard to kind of, at this point, instead of in a 6-year-old, but even just like the little stuff, you know, we're going to try to instill that in them more that, you know, you got to work for what you want. Everything's not going to be given to you.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
Unless you go over to the grandparents' house.
Right? And that's the problem. Like, you sit up here and try to work, and then they go to grandma and be like, here's $50. Here's $20. You want a toy? This is like, really? Like, you know?
That's how I am.
It's like, come on, you know? So it's, and they do it on purpose. They know what they're doing, but I know it's all love.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'll do the same thing. But
I bet you will.
Yeah. See, I didn't really, by the time I got older, I didn't really get to experience the whole grandparents thing because they had already passed away.
Right.
But both my parents are still living, and both my wife's parents are still living. So our kids get to experience the whole grandma, grandpa thing for a while now. So, yeah.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us about the relationships between the older and the younger. Do the young kid, does he like think his older siblings are really cool, or?
So he's really, so my daughter, she just turned 22. So she's 6, he's 6, so there's a 16-year gap. He definitely is more attached to her.
Really?
He's more attached to her. He's always wants to hang out with her. But she kind of babies him and spoils him too. So that's kind of why he likes to hang out with her, you know, because she takes him to the zoo or does outings with him and gives him candy behind our back, you know, stuff like that, you know, big sister stuff. So he kind of tends to gravitate towards her more. My son, the older son, not so much. My older son is kind of, I mean, he's the older brother, so he kind of picks on him, you know what I mean, a little bit, and kind of roughs him up, you know, wants him to be tough and everything. So it's a little different element there. But I think, you know, again, he's 6, right? But I think as he gets older, he'll understand. He'll kind of probably gravitate towards, you know, my older son once he gets older. So the relationship, with my older son, is more of like a playful, you know, kind of tough boy relationship, you know, and with my daughter, it's kind of being spoiled, hanging out, go do fun stuff. So he kind of, like I said, he kind of gravitates towards my daughter. That's kind of the relationship dynamic there.
So having the older siblings, is that like having sort of a built-in babysitter?
No, because they, you know, they got their lives too. Like, you know, they're young, so it's not like every now and then. Like if me and my wife want to go do something, we'll ask my older daughter to be like, hey, can you know, she grits her teeth, but you know, she'll do it. But yeah, it's kind of tough to get them because they kind of do their own thing,
right? And
they work too, and they kind of got their lives and they got stuff. So it's kind of like, that's not my kid, you know. I'm not. But every now and then they, you know, like I said, she'll take them to do stuff every now and then and whatnot when she wants to. But if we really ask her to watch them, she will, you know. But it's not like, hey, y'all want to go do something? I'll watch. She's not volunteering by any means. So just kind of keep that in mind. Yeah, so.
That's going to be an interesting relationship when your oldest daughter has a child.
Right? So hopefully that's not anytime soon.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
But uncle could be 7 or 8.
Right. So, yeah.
So what's it like parenting a toddler when your other kids are old enough to vote or rent a car?
Uh, I think there are some pros and cons to it because I would say that the pros is that, again, like we had talked about, the older kids can help out and they can show them to do different things. They do also help with the discipline, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, as far as like, if they see him doing something wrong, it's like, hey, you're not supposed to be doing that, or hey, straighten up, or even like if he gets in trouble at school and they find out about it, they'd be like, you're not supposed to do that at school. So they kind of help on that end as far as helping with the disciplining of it. That's the pros. I think the cons though is there's no younger children in the house that on his level for him to connect with, and so he's around adults the whole time. So he does see them do adult things. You know what I'm saying? He hangs out, so it's like, okay, no, you don't say that or you don't do that because you're not their age. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's just trying to emulate them.
Exactly. So it's kind of a pros and cons with it. So we kind of have to. They have to kind of watch themselves, as older siblings. Like, hey, there's some things you shouldn't say or do that you say around and do around your friends or whoever you hang out with. I mean, they're older, they're grown, right? So they can do, but they got to remember, hey, there's still a 6-year-old little brother, so they got to kind of watch because he's watching everything that you guys do.
Absolutely.
And those are the only two really siblings that he has to connect with. So they got to watch that. Now, if there were younger kids in the home, that it'd be a little bit different. But they're adults, young adults. So it's kind of like, they got to kind of watch that. So I would say those are some of the positive and negatives about that. So,
what do you think is the hardest thing about having a gap family like this?
Finding time to get everybody together, because again, the older ones kind of want to do their thing, and it's like, hey, like we go to the movies, we got to choose a movie that's his level, right?
Yeah.
It's like they want to go see whatever, like a rated R or MA movie. Like, I was going to be like, no, we need to go watch this. You know what I mean? That's kind of one of the hard things. So some of the decisions as far as family outings can get hard because we got a lot of the stuff we have to do to his level that also he can enjoy with adult things. So that can get kind of, then also taking him to do so. He has a lot of energy, right?
Right.
So we try to keep him in sports, soccer, and we did basketball. Now we're about to start football. We did swimming. So it's like getting him to practices, taking him energy and stuff. And again, like I said, me and my wife are older. So like it'll help out for them to help out, like taking them to practice or
Right.
do some of the things. So those are some of the benefits of having that different gap dynamic.
So, what is the difference in discipline? Do you think that maybe you were more strict on the older children than you are on the younger, or maybe vice versa?
Great. Like I said, the older ones, we're a lot more stricter now with the younger one. Because the older ones we weren't.
Yeah.
And we see where it led to. So like I said, we let them get away. Like I said, they were spoiled. So we let them get away with a lot of stuff. There were times where we should have disciplined them where there's times that we didn't discipline we should have. We should have been a lot more harder on those triggers. Like get them to get away with a lot of stuff. So in turn, there were some things that happened that maybe wouldn't have happened if we were a little bit more disciplined with them. So, and like I said earlier, that's where the wisdom comes in. It's like, okay, now we got to do something a little bit differently with this one, right? Where I don't want to go through the same road again. So why don't we try this? So yeah, he's definitely getting the harder end of it now because we've been there, right? And we've seen, and I think that is one of the positives about having a gap too. Like, I guess go to your other question, kind of backtrack a little bit, is it's kind of like you see what happened, the different parenting style, what worked and what didn't work, right? Mm-hmm. So now it's like, okay, well, we did this and this is what happened, and our parenting style was this way with our older children, and this is what happened. Why don't we try something different and see if we have a different outcome? I'm not saying my older kids are bad or they're just crazy like they did drugs, but they were teenagers, and we went through some things that a lot of parents went through with their teenagers. Everybody was a teenager, so we went through the sneaking out and getting in trouble at school and fighting and just some of the stuff. But I think some of the stuff could have been alleviated if we would have been a little bit more stricter with them when they were younger, and it kind of would have grew into that. Mm-hmm. So definitely now, seeing that, we are definitely a little bit more stricter with the little one. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Not let him get away with a lot of different stuff. So hopefully, in turn, when he gets older and that teenager, we're not having to deal with some of the stuff that we had to deal with the others.
Now, so you do still have a teenager in the house, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, both of them are still there. My 20. Okay. So that's what I was saying. They got to be careful of what they say and do, because they're constantly around them, and he sees that, and they're not other kids to his level. He's just in a house full of adults. The only time he's around kids is when he goes to daycare, he goes to school. Mm-hmm. He's around kids' age level. But when you're at home, everybody's adults, mm-hmm. And that could be a good thing, yes. And it could be a bad thing, right?
Yeah, right.
So it depends. So, my older ones, they are to the point. I know my daughter is to the point where she's going to move out soon. I'm like, look, I'll pay for it. Just go. Right? Right? But, that's a big step. So
it is.
I don't want to be in that position of they go out and be on their own for a couple of years and then come back home. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, so there are two. They're all still there. So that's why I said that dynamic is still. So they got to be careful of what they say and do around him, because he'll pick up on everything, and not just them. Even me and my wife, be careful what we say and do around him, because he'll pick up all that stuff.
At that age, they just mimic and repeat.
Like a sponge, right?
Exactly.
And then, like you said, where did you hear that from? You? They're not gonna say that, but you think everything. Oh, you got that at school? No, got it at home, right? So, got to be careful on some of that stuff.
Right. So, it sounds to me like you've gained a lot of wisdom raising the older children, mm-hmm. and now you're working with the young ones. So, is probably your biggest issue at this point just having the energy, just keep up?
Yeah. So, funny that you say that. So with the older ones, like you said, I was younger and had more energy, and we did like all the sports and all that stuff, and I coached my older ones' football teams when he was younger, and I told my wife, I'm never doing this again. Like, I'm done. But funnily, now I'm ending up coaching my 6-year-old's football team. So it does got to have the energy. I don't have as much energy and get up as I did 20 years ago, 15 years ago when he was, but now it's like I'm doing it all over again. So I got to find that energy.
Right.
And find that, and not so much energy, also time. Right. Still got to work. I don't make enough money to where I can just take off when I want to, right? So I got to work still. I still got to provide for my family. So squeezing that time in and energy to get him to the practices and do things with him, it could be a obstacle sometimes.
Right.
It could be kind of tough. The good thing about it though is my older son is actually going to help out with some of the coaching and stuff with him with his sports and things.
That's
great. So that can also build that relationship between him and my young one and my older one as he gets older, and kind of build a relationship, and that's something that they can connect with, because it's already hard to find something that they can connect on just because of the age gap, right? Mm-hmm. So that'll be definitely something to help bridge that gap, because with the older one, it's kind of and it depends on the personality. Some is like, we shouldn't have to say, hey, go play with your little brother, right? Some of them love that. Some of them like, hey, I know I don't want to. I want to go hang out with my friend. I don't want to be here. I want to go. I don't want to hang out with a 6-year-old little kid, right?
Uh-huh.
So it's finding that balance. But I think him helping out with that definitely can be a positive of, and it help alleviate some of that energy off of me and time off of me, because it is kind of, as you get older, it is kind of scarce when you got a young one to find that energy and time to to be active and engage with him. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So
You've been
it's
in your
not all. It's easy to give him a phone or
right
iPad and okay, here, watch
something to keep them
YouTube,
distracted.
keep him distracted. But you gotta engage. I'm not saying all the time, but there are times where you have to really be involved and engaged and have that one-on-one time. So I think for my older son and me, it'll be a way for all of us to strengthen and connect our relationships, because me and my older son will be able to spend more time together, and we'll be spending time with the little one. We're all the boys in the house will be able to kind of build that and spend a little bit more time together. So I think overall it'll be a positive thing. So, and again, like I said, it'll take some of that energy off of me. So, yeah.
You brought up devices, and I kind of wanted to ask this. Having a teenager, they're obviously all about the devices and the phones and so on and so forth. Has that changed your perspective, and how do you think that you're going to how do you handle media with the younger one?
Well, as far as not so much the phone, but he likes YouTube. He really likes YouTube. He likes watching. The thing about YouTube, you can kind of pick what you want to watch
Right.
and stuff. But you got to be careful. There are definitely some things. So we try to monitor what he watches, and even some of the stuff that is supposed to be parental safe, it's still kind of borderline, right?
Right.
And there are some underlying jokes that maybe adults only understand that kids don't know, but they can pick up on some of that stuff too.
Right.
So I'm not one of those parents, I'll be honest with you, that my kid is not gonna have a phone until they turn 18, or they can't watch this. Like, I'm not that type of, but also too, I'm not gonna let them just sit and watch YouTube all day long, right? There's gotta be some activity out there that's them engaged. And I think, like, going back to how, like, we were raised, we didn't have all that, right? We didn't have phones,
Didn't have to
social
worry
media.
about it.
We didn't have to worry, but we were outside and we would have more interaction. We was playing, we were out engaging with people.
Right.
And nowadays, it's like everything is, you're on your phone.
Even when you're sitting together.
Yeah, right? But I think now, even, I know they just passed a new law that you're not allowed to have cell phones in school, right? I think we might wait a little bit longer for him to get a phone. I can't remember when my older ones got their phones. But I think we might wait a little bit longer for him to get a phone. After seeing, some of the, like, okay, you don't need to be in first grade and have a phone, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But you'd be surprised.
I know.
Like, and then love is safety, and they might have to walk home and okay, whatever. But no, you don't need to be in first, second grade, have a phone, right? I think that is too young, because there are some things on there that can get through, and you got to protect them. See, when we were coming up, it was more of, don't talk to strangers,
right.
And that person comes up and offers you candy, don't take it. That was the thing when we were coming. Now it's all on the phone. There's people on your phone trying to get your kid to whatever. So you got to kind of be careful. It's not out in the open anymore. It's more on social media and digital stuff. So it's a little different dynamic. So definitely got to be careful with that.
So do the older kids give you parenting advice?
No, not so much, but they do try to kind of butt in when it comes to like some of the discipline.
Oh yeah,
right. It's like, if we, like, for example, like I was telling, like, we want them to have all snacks and candy, like my daughter, or like, see, I'm like, where'd you get that? Like, why did you give them that? Like, right? You know what I'm saying? They, and the crazy part about it is, like, my daughter, she's more of the want to spoil them and do things. And then my son is kind of more of the disciplinary, like heavy hand, if you want to say with him. So yeah, it could be. They kind of want to kind of just say, well, you should let him do this, and he needs to do this, and I'm like, look, we know what we're doing, we're trying to do, but sometimes some of the stuff makes sense what they say, because they're on the outside looking in,
Right.
kind of.
Oh,
So
yeah.
some of the advice we do take into consideration. So definitely, you can kind of go both ways with that. Some advice could be good. Some of them is like, okay, let us handle that. Like, let us do this. We hear what you're saying, but we got this. But especially my daughter, she does kind of offer some like, hey, he needs to do this, or we might try this, or this is what you guys might need. It does help a little bit.
Does she send you memes or a YouTube link? Here, you need to watch this, Dad.
No, not necessarily. It's more outspoken, like in the home. Like when she sees something going on, it's like, hey, why don't you guys do this or try this, or maybe you should do this. So not so much link, but like actually in the home, like when we're in the middle of something, she might bring something up, which is okay. So
how do you explain to your youngest that their siblings grew up in the dark ages before TikTok?
So I think my older ones, yeah, they didn't really have the TikTok, and it was more, I think that's when YouTube was and all that stuff was really starting to come about. They actually, they kind of entertain themselves, I would say. Now, the younger one, I don't think he understands, what the dark ages are not having. I think with him, he probably couldn't comprehend not having, because it's all around him now.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not at the age right now to where he could probably be explaining that to him. He probably wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
Growing up without it. Maybe when he gets a little bit older, we can kind of explain to him. Like, it's easier for, if you want to really, it's easy for me to explain to all of my kids, like, hey, when I was coming up, we didn't have none of this, right?
Yeah.
It was none of this. So it's kind of more of that. Those was really the dark ages. Like, we didn't even have not just necessarily TikTok and YouTube. It was like we didn't have nothing. It was like we had outside and Nintendo. Now we had Nintendo, right? But it wasn't like
Sega,
and we watched TV. We had our shows.
Right,
we had our sitcoms that we watched. But now I don't even think my kids watch TV. They're like watching YouTube, and YouTube's a little bit different because you can kind of pick what you want to watch, right? Versus television, you have programming where you're kind of forced to watch certain things. Where YouTube and TikTok and things like that, you can kind of filter out and kind of pick what you want to watch. So it's a little bit different. So it's easier for me to explain to the older ones. My younger one, like I said, he doesn't really understand right now of what it's to be level one. But me explaining to my older ones, hey, this is what it was like. Like, we didn't have anything. Like, we went outside and interacted with people, and we did things, and you don't know what it means to pick up a phone and call somebody and it's busy. Right? Have to call back or call waiting. I don't know if you remember that, right? You'd be like, hold on, I got to beep. Like, I don't know if you remember that. You remember that?
Yes,
So it's like, they don't understand that. So I don't know what the dynamic will be when it gets older. For my younger one, it'll probably be them explaining to him, like, hey, when we were, 15, because they'll be, by the time he turns, 15, 16, when he'll be really a teenager out there in it, they'll be like in their 30s, low 20s. So they'll be like, hey, when I was a teenager, you didn't have all this stuff, So it'll be fun to hear the Thanksgiving and holiday conversations when he's 15 and they're 30 on how things are different. So
and who knows how different it's going to be.
Yeah, and I mean the whole thing with AI and robots and stuff, like, so Kim, he understands I mean, he doesn't know what AI is right now, but he can work an iPad really well. And the thing about it too, it's within the school system now. Like even when he was in kindergarten, he had an iPad. They sent him home with an iPad in kindergarten to do homework. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like we had virtual days, and it was like, well, we send him home with an iPad, and he does his homework on the iPad, and it's 5, right? So it's like it's just it's crazy. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Um, so think about this one for a minute, Grover.
Uh-huh.
Can you share with us probably the funniest story or a funny thing that happened that revolves around this age gap?
I could tell you, I can't tell you one like example. I can tell you an ongoing example.
All right.
So he's since he's hanging around adults, he's very well spoken,
Right.
right? And he speaks very, very well. So when he's around us, or right, he speaks to our level, right? Um, that was funny. So the other day, and he's 6 years old, and the daughter was playing with him and did something to him, kind of roughed him up. He was like, "You know what? You do that to me again, you're gonna go to jail." She was like, "I'm going to call the police, and they're gonna come pick you up." And this is a secret. And I mean, he said it just as clear. You know, I mean, it was just like he's talking to another adult, and I'm like, but it's an ongoing thing with him. It's the funniest thing. He'll just talk so clearly. Like we'll be in a car, we'll be going um, out to eat as a family, and we'll just be talking, and it'll be like an adult conversation, and he'll just be like, well, I choose to go eat here. I mean, my sister might not want to go there. This is where I want to eat. They got good food. I really like it. It's just like, where does this come from? You know what I
Starting to
mean?
have opinions.
Yeah, and it's like, it's crazy to hear him talk like that at just such a sixth level. And it could be a good thing and a bad thing. Again, like we had talked about earlier, kind of picks up on some of the stuff. And so him being around adults is very well spoken, but it's just funny because it's just an ongoing thing that this little kid is this little 6-year-old in this little body just has a big mouth and just talks and he'll just say things and we'll just be like, "Did you say that?" Like, and it's not nothing bad. It's just like, wow, it's kind of amazing. Like that was something you would hear from like a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old. But it comes with, like I said, being around us all the time. So it's an ongoing kind of funny thing that in the house he'll just make not all the time, like I'm not saying it's constant, but he'll just make like comments or say things that you're just like, okay. Right?
Yeah.
You know, so that's probably one of the highlights of him as far as him being humorous, that we find humorous.
What if you had like a couple friend,
Mm-hmm.
and they were sort of in a similar situation? They had older children, but they were considering having a younger children after a gap. What advice would you give them?
I would tell them, do you want to have time to yourselves? If you want to have time to yourselves, then no. If you want to if you want to stay young and have energy and do that, then I would say yes. Because it does. I mean, it does take a lot of time. I mean,
And energy, right?
and energy. And the funny thing about it, that we actually do have a friend couple that has kind of almost that same gap. So they were friends with us here. They ended up moving to Florida, but it was kind of like the same thing. The cool thing about it is we were able to get together a lot and have fun with them and barbecues, or go out to eat, go to church, and hang out with them because we had some of the same similarities that they had an older bunch of kids. They had
Right.
one of the younger ones too.
Right.
So it was definitely a cool dynamic to kind of share some of this experiences and some of the same. They're like, we're experiencing the same thing. Like it's neat. So yeah, definitely.
All in all, would you say that you're happy that it worked out the way it
Oh
did?
yeah, definitely. Like I wouldn't definitely go back and be like change or regret anything. Like I look at him and see him grow, and it's just like a mini me. And yeah, sometimes it can get stressful and huff and puff, but it's fun and it's exciting. And we have an opportunity, to raise another child. And and do it again and maybe try different things. And you never know what to expect and how. And that's one of the beauty about raising kids is you never know what you're going to expect and get what you're going to get, when they get older. And one thing I do know is time does go by fast, really, really, really quick. And I remember it seemed like it was just yesterday when my older one was 6 years old.
Right.
And then you go to sleep and wake up and it's like, wow.
Right.
They're already graduated high school. So I'll be able to look back on this interview in hindsight and be like, man, I did that when you were 6 years old. And, and like I said, I'm going to wake up and he's going to be graduating high school. Like, that time about fast.
Yeah.
I say that to say, you do need to cherish the time you have with your kids and engage with them. And it's about the quality time. And you'll be surprised on what your kids remember and some of the best memories that they have about growing up. I'm not saying everything is perfect. Every family has problems, and everything's not always, dandelions and ice cream. There's in every family dynamic there are issues, but as long as you have more good days than bad days, I think that's what counts.
Right.
But I can definitely say that making those memories that they can look back on, and like for me, an example, the best memory I have of my dad, and this was just a tiny bit of growing up with my father, is I remember he took me. I would ask him weekend after weekend, Dad, I want to go fly gliders in the park. I want to go gliders. He was always so busy. And then finally we did. We went to Kmart, bought a glider, and I remember it was a Saturday afternoon. We went to the park, built a glider, and we flew it. And it was just a one-time thing that happened, but that was probably my best memory I had of him. It was
beautiful.
almost in memories, but that's one that stands out. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's just something little, small, right? So you'd be surprised on whatever you do, that one little thing that might stand out and be like, you know what, that was the best memory I had of my father. So I want my kids, my youngest one and my older ones, to look back and be like, you know what, this is one thing that I do remember that I did enjoy that sticks out.
That's a great parenting tip.
Yeah. So,
really.
For sure.
So now is an opportunity for you to record for the internet forever a message to your children.
Oh, just definitely, I love you guys. I know that I could be hard on y'all sometimes as a parent. I'm not perfect, but I love you all. And I just, hopefully, like I said, is you can look back and you have more good memories of the me than bad. And just remember the small things. That's what counts. Quality time. Definitely.
So our guest today has been Mr. Grover Walker, and our topic has been what it's like to be a parent of a gap family, where older siblings and one younger child. Grover, thank you so much for being our guest today. Is there anything any final thoughts you'd like?
Oh, no, just
Parenting
thank
tips?
you. Appreciate the time. I would say that I would say my universal parenting tip would probably be, you're going to be a parent forever, right? Some people think that, once they get older and they get their own family, you're still a parent.
Right.
As long as you have children, you're still a parent.
That's the
So
truth.
just kind of keep that in mind.
That's a lifetime commitment.
Yeah.
But not in a bad way.
Right, yeah. Just keep that in mind, because even when you're 25, 30, even I'm 44, and my mom still treats me, she's 70, and I go home to visit, and she treats me, I'm like, I'm 40. Like, why are you talking to me like that? Like, so it's there. Like, it never stops. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Grover.
All right, appreciate it.